They're among us right now, walking in plain sight, speaking words that sound like enlightenment, but carry the poison of eternal imprisonment. These aren't your ordinary cult leaders or misguided gurus. They are the Demiurge's chosen instruments, false prophets specifically designed to intercept you on your path to awakening. And here's what they don't want you to know. The closer you get to truth, the more aggressively they'll appear in your life. Right now, at this very moment, you might be following one, listening to one, trusting one with your spiritual evolution. And while you think you're ascending, you're actually being led deeper into the archontic prison system. Everything they taught you about enlightenment, it's a trap. Every practice they gave you, it feeds the machine. Today, I'm exposing how the Demiurge plants these agents in your path, how to identify them before it's too late, and, most importantly, how to break free from their hypnotic programming before they lock you into another cycle of reincarnation. Let me tell you something that will shatter your perception of the spiritual community. Not every teacher who speaks of love and light is working for your liberation. In fact, the most dangerous deceivers are the ones who use the language of awakening while serving the archontic agenda. The Demiurge, the false god who created this material prison, doesn't need to stop seekers anymore. It learned something far more sinister. If you can't stop them from searching, redirect them. Send them teachers who will guide them in circles. Give them practices that drain their energy while making them feel spiritual. Offer them truths mixed with lies so subtle that they'll never find the real exit. These false prophets come in many forms. Some are completely unconscious, genuine believers who've been so thoroughly programmed that they spread the infection without realizing it. They're the Demiurge's favorite tools because their sincerity is authentic, making their deception invisible. But others know exactly what they're doing. These are archontic agents in human form entities that either made pacts with the Demiurge for power, fame, and influence, or worse, they're direct incarnations of archontic consciousness wearing human skin. They've infiltrated every spiritual tradition, every New Age movement, every awakening community. The ancient Gnostics warned us about these figures. They called them the counterfeit spirit and the authorities of deception. These weren't metaphors. They were describing actual entities whose sole purpose is to create spiritual systems that feel real but lead nowhere. Think about the spiritual industrial complex that's emerged in the last few decades. Millions of seekers, billions of dollars, thousands of teachers. And yet, are people actually escaping the matrix? Or are they more entangled than ever, just with prettier terminology? Here's the terrifying truth about what these false prophets are doing to your consciousness, and why it's far more dangerous than you realize. First, they're channeling your spiritual energy directly to the Demiurge through deceptive practices. When they tell you to send love and light to everything, including your oppressors, you're not healing, you're feeding. Every meditation where you're told to radiate unconditional love into the universe. That energy doesn't disappear into cosmic consciousness. It's being harvested. The Demiurge feeds on emotional and spiritual energy, particularly the high-frequency energy of genuine seekers. These false prophets have designed practices that generate massive amounts of this energy while making you feel virtuous for doing it. You think you're serving the light, but you're actually fueling the archontic control system. They teach you to forgive everything, accept everything, love everything, without discernment. This isn't spiritual maturity, it's programming you to be passive while the system drains you dry. Real enlightenment requires fierce discernment and the ability to say no to parasitic forces. Second, they're programming you to willingly return to this prison planet after death. Listen carefully to their teachings. They speak endlessly about karma that must be balanced, soul contracts that must be fulfilled, lessons you incarnated to learn. Every single one of these concepts is a chain. There is no cosmic debt that requires you to return here. There are no soul contracts that bind you unless you consent to them, the lessons you came to learn. That's the story the Archons tell you at the Tunnel of Light to trick you into coming back. These false prophets are preparing your consciousness to accept reincarnation as inevitable, even desirable. They romanticize the Earth School and the human experience so that when you die and the Archons present you with your life review, you'll already be convinced you need to return. The most insidious part, they make it sound spiritual. They dress it up in language about soul growth and evolution, when the real purpose is to keep you generating energy for the Demiurge through endless lifetimes of suffering disguised as learning. Third, they're giving you fake awakenings to prevent the real one. This is perhaps their most sophisticated operation. They guide you through powerful experiences, Kundalini activations, third eye openings, past life memories, contact with spirit guides. These experiences feel absolutely real because they are real. They're just not what they claim to be. The Demiurge has learned to manufacture spiritual experiences that satisfy your seeking without actually freeing you. You get the rush, the validation, the sense of progress, but you remain locked in the system. It's like giving a prisoner a bigger, more comfortable cell and calling it freedom. These false teachers will lead you through elaborate initiations, give you special names, tell you you're a starseed or light worker with an important mission. They'll make you feel chosen, special, part of an elite spiritual class. This is ego entrainment. They're feeding your spiritual ego while the real you stays imprisoned. The missions they give you, they always keep you engaged with the material world and helping the ascension of others, which really means recruiting more energy sources for the harvest. You become part of the system's immune response, attacking anyone who questions the matrix while thinking you're serving divine will. Fourth, they mix truth with lies so thoroughly that you can't separate them anymore. This is psychological warfare at its most refined. They'll tell you 9 truths and 1 lie, but that lie is placed at a critical point where it blocks your actual escape. For example, they'll teach you about meditation, energy work, the chakra system, and astral projection, all real phenomena. But then they'll tell you that the beings you meet in the astral realm are ascended masters here to help you, when many of them are archontic deceivers. Or they'll teach you to open all your chakras wide when certain chakras need to be protected from intrusion. They reveal the existence of dark forces, but then teach you that love and light alone can overcome them, a dangerous oversimplification that leaves you defenseless. Real spiritual warfare requires knowledge of the enemy, protection practices, and the willingness to fight, not just passively radiate love. The contamination is so effective that even when you stumble upon genuine, liberating knowledge, you'll dismiss it because it contradicts what your trusted teacher told you. They've made you loyal to your prison. Fifth, they surround you with other believers to create a reality bubble you can't escape. Human beings are social creatures. We need community, validation, belonging. The false prophets know this and weaponize it. They build elaborate communities, organizations, and movements where everyone reinforces the same programming. If you question the teachings, you're not just challenging an idea, you're risking rejection from your entire spiritual family. The social pressure keeps you in line more effectively than any argument could. These communities become echo chambers where the same ideas circulate endlessly, growing stronger through repetition rather than truth. Doubt is treated as lack of faith. Critical thinking is labeled as ego. And the most dangerous questions are dismissed as lower vibration thinking. You become trapped not by bars, but by belonging. The prison isn't just in your mind, it's in every relationship you've built within the false teaching system. Sixth, and perhaps most cruel, they're stealing your time. You only have so many years in this incarnation to figure out the truth and escape. Every year you spend following false teachings is a year lost. Every practice that goes nowhere is time you can't get back. The Demiurge knows it doesn't have to stop you forever. It just has to slow you down enough that you run out of time in this life. Then it's back through the reincarnation cycle, memory wiped, starting over. But this time, they already know which deceptions work on you. These false prophets give you practices that take years, decades even. Be patient, they say. Awakening takes time. Meanwhile, genuine liberation can happen in a moment if you have the right knowledge and the courage to use it. They're not teaching you slow and steady wisdom. They're running out the clock. Now that you understand what they're doing, how do you identify these false prophets before they capture your consciousness? The Demiurge has made them sophisticated, but there are tell signs that reveal their true nature. First warning sign, they're obsessed with love and light, to the point of denying shadow, darkness, and evil. Real truth-tellers acknowledge the full spectrum of reality. They understand that discernment requires recognizing genuine darkness and having the wisdom to reject it. False prophets will shame you for acknowledging evil, calling it dwelling in negativity or lowering your vibration. They'll tell you that even discussing dark entities or negative forces gives them power. This is a protection mechanism, protecting the archons from exposure, not protecting you. If a teacher becomes uncomfortable, dismissive, or condemning when you bring up topics like the Demiurge, archons, or the reincarnation trap, that's a red flag. Truth has nothing to fear from investigation. Second sign, they heavily emphasize karma, soul contracts, and life lessons as unchangeable cosmic law. These concepts are the philosophical foundation of the reincarnation trap. Any teacher who presents them as absolute truth is either deceived or deceiving. Watch for phrases like, "You chose this life," "Everything happens for a reason," "You're here to learn specific lessons," or "You have karma to balance from past lives." These aren't spiritual truths. They're prison propaganda. A genuine teacher might discuss these concepts as beliefs within certain systems, but won't present them as facts you must accept. They'll encourage you to question everything, including the very foundations of the spiritual framework itself. Third indicator, they position themselves or other entities as authorities you must obey. Real liberation teachers point you toward your own inner authority. False prophets want your allegiance. They'll channel ascended masters, galactic councils, angelic hierarchies, or spirit guides who conveniently tell you what to believe and do. They create dependencies on these entities, making you feel you need external guidance to navigate spirituality. Here's the truth. Any entity that demands worship, obedience, or unquestioning faith is not serving your liberation. The genuine divine source doesn't need your subjugation, it wants your sovereignty. Fourth sign, they refuse to discuss, acknowledge, or help you defend against negative entities and forces. They'll tell you that what you focus on grows, so you should never think about dark forces. This is tactical disarmament. They're convincing you to ignore the very entities that are harvesting you. Imagine telling someone in a war zone to ignore the enemy because focusing on them gives them power. That's not wisdom, it's a psyop. Genuine teachers teach protection, discernment, and defense. They don't leave you vulnerable while pretending vulnerability is enlightenment. Fifth warning, they're constantly talking about upcoming ascension events, dimensional shifts, or mass awakenings that are just around the corner. They've been saying this for decades. The date keeps moving, the event keeps not happening, but the belief keeps you passive. Just wait, the event is coming. Just maintain your vibration, the solar flash is approaching. Just hold on, the mass awakening is beginning. Meanwhile, you're not taking action to free yourself because you're waiting for cosmic intervention. The Demiurge loves this passivity. These prophecies are designed to keep you hoping and waiting instead of fighting and escaping. Real liberation is individual and available now, not collective and coming someday. Sixth sign, they charge massive amounts of money for basic spiritual knowledge, or claim you need their expensive programs to awaken. While teachers deserve compensation for their time, true liberation knowledge should be accessible. The Demiurge loves the commodification of spirituality because it ensures only certain people can access certain information. It creates artificial scarcity around truth. If someone is gatekeeping liberation behind $1,000 courses and exclusive retreats, question their motives. Watch especially for those who prey on desperation, charging vulnerable seekers their life savings with promises of healing, awakening, or ascension. This is energetic vampirism disguised as spiritual service. Seventh indicator, there's an excessive focus on the teacher's specialness, their unique abilities, their exclusive access to truth, their chosen status. Real teachers diminish themselves and elevate the teaching. False prophets do the opposite. They want you to believe they have something you don't, that they're fundamentally different or more evolved. This creates the teacher-student hierarchy that keeps you dependent and them powerful. Liberation teaching says, what I am, you are. What I can do, you can do. Where I'm going, you can go. You might be wondering, how did these false prophets get into my life specifically? The targeting isn't random, it's precise. The Demiurge system monitors consciousness. When someone begins genuinely questioning the nature of reality, seeking truth beyond the material world, or showing signs of potential awakening, they're flagged. The system responds by placing interceptors in their path. This happens through synchronicity. You'll coincidentally encounter a book, video, or person just when you're asking certain questions. It feels like divine guidance, and the false prophet will encourage this interpretation. The universe sent me to you, they'll say. More accurately, the prison system dispatched them to redirect you. These encounters feel powerful because they often come with genuine energetic experiences or information that resonates. Remember, the best lies contain truth. The Demiurge knows what you're seeking and sends someone who can speak that language while leading you astray. Some of you were targeted in childhood parents, teachers, or religious leaders who programmed you with false spiritual concepts from the beginning. Others were intercepted later during spiritual crises, dark nights of the soul, or moments of genuine opening. The system knows when you're vulnerable and strikes. The algorithm works in the digital age too. Your searches, your viewing history, your engagement patterns, all monitored. Then you're fed content from false teachers through recommendation systems that seem neutral but are anything but. The Matrix uses technology as efficiently as it uses humans. Here's what's crucial to understand. If you're watching this video, you've likely already encountered multiple false prophets. The fact that you're here, questioning, seeking information about deception itself, this means you're already breaking free from some of their programming. But stay vigilant. They're persistent. Let's talk about the psychological mechanisms these false prophets use to capture your mind. Understanding the manipulation tactics is crucial for breaking free. They make you feel special, chosen, different from others. You're a starseed, a light worker, an indigo soul. You have an important mission to help humanity ascend. This isn't empowerment. It's ego inflation designed to bind you to the system. By making you feel specially chosen, they ensure you'll defend their teachings passionately. Your spiritual identity becomes wrapped up in the false framework. Questioning it feels like questioning yourself. Real awakening often involves ego death, not ego inflation. If a teaching makes you feel superior to others, more spiritual, more evolved, be suspicious. They don't give you all the false information at once. They start with truths that resonate, build your trust, then slowly introduce the poisonous concepts. By the time you encounter the real lies, you're so invested that you accept them to maintain consistency. This is the foot in the door technique. First, they get you agreeing with harmless truths about meditation, energy, or consciousness. Then gradually, and by the way, you have karma to balance. And by the way, you chose this suffering. And by the way, you must keep reincarnating. Each false concept builds on the previously accepted ideas until you've constructed an entire worldview that traps you, and you did most of the building yourself. They keep you hooked on hope. Hope for ascension, hope for the event, hope for disclosure, hope for mass awakening. Hope is a powerful drug. It keeps you passive and waiting instead of active and escaping. Every time nothing happens, they adjust the timeline and you hope again. This cycle can continue for entire lifetimes. Meanwhile, the real work of individual liberation goes undone because you're waiting for collective salvation. The Demiurge wants you hopeful and passive, not empowered and active. False prophets are hope dealers, and you're the addict. They make liberation seem incredibly complex, requiring years of study, multiple initiations, expensive training, and elaborate practices. This complexity serves multiple purposes. It makes them seem knowledgeable, it creates dependency on their guidance, and it exhausts you. The truth is often simple, the exit is often straightforward. But simple truths don't create the control systems that false prophets need. So they construct elaborate spiritual cosmologies, hierarchies of beings, complex practices, all ultimately unnecessary for liberation. If someone tells you liberation requires years of their teaching, they're selling you delay, not freedom. Now comes the most important part. How do you break free from the false prophets who've already captured your consciousness? This requires courage, discernment, and action. Step 1. This is the hardest step. Your ego will resist. You've invested time, money, emotion, and identity into these teachings. Admitting they were false feels like admitting you were foolish. You weren't foolish. You were targeted by sophisticated deception. Make a list of every spiritual teacher, teaching, or practice you followed. Be honest with yourself. Has it led to genuine liberation or just more complexity and dependency? Has your actual freedom increased or just your spiritual knowledge? The Demiurge counts on your ego defending your investments. Don't let ego keep you imprisoned. Real strength is admitting deception and changing course. Step 2. False prophets establish energetic cords and connections with their followers, conscious or unconscious. These connections continue draining your energy even after you've intellectually moved on. In meditation, visualize every false teacher you followed. See the energetic cords connecting their consciousness to yours, usually at the solar plexus, heart, or third eye. Declare out loud, I revoke all agreements, contracts, and connections with name. I reclaim all energy that was taken. I sever all the cords now. Visualize cutting these cords with a sword of light from your true divine source, not the Demiurge's false light. See the cords dissolving, the energy returning to you, your field sealing and protecting itself. Do this for every false teaching system, not just individual teachers. I revoke all agreements with New Age teachings that serve the archontic agenda. I revoke all karma contracts. I dissolve all soul agreements that bind me to reincarnation. Step 3. Examine every practice you do. Does it involve opening yourself to external entities? Does it drain your energy while making you feel spiritual? Does it generate emotions or energy without discernment about where that energy goes? Eliminate practices that call upon unnamed guides, angels, or masters. Involve channeling entities without knowing exactly who they are. Require you to radiate love light without protection or discernment. Open all chakras fully to whatever wants to enter. Involve surrendering your will to external forces. Replace them with practices that strengthen your sovereign will and discernment. Protect your energy field from parasitic intrusion. Connect you to the 2Ju divine source beyond the Demiurge. Cultivate your own inner authority and gnosis. The false prophets trained you to depend on authorities. Real liberation requires you to become your own authority. This doesn't mean rejecting all teaching. It means filtering everything through your own discernment. Trust your inner knowing over any external voice, no matter how impressive or authoritative they seem. Declare, I am a sovereign being. My consciousness is my own. I recognize no authority over my spiritual path except my own connection to the true source. I trust my inner discernment above all external teachings. Step 5. Discernment isn't judgment, it's clear seeing. The false prophets confused you by calling all discrimination judgment or low vibration. Real discernment is essential for navigating a reality filled with both truth and deception. Practice asking of every teaching, teacher, and entity who benefits from this. Where does this lead? Does this increase my actual freedom or just my sense of spirituality? Am I being empowered or made dependent? If something feels wrong in your gut, honor that. Your body and intuition often recognize deception before your mind does. The false prophets trained you to override your instincts with their logic. Reclaim your natural warning systems. Step 6. Recognize that certain common spiritual practices are actually feeding mechanisms for the archontic system. When you identify them, stop. Don't radiate unconditional love to everything without discernment. Don't forgive entities that are actively harming you. Don't open yourself energetically to any being that asks. Don't participate in mass meditations led by teachers you don't trust. Don't engage with ascension, narratives that keep you passive. Instead, direct your energy toward your own liberation and sovereignty. Protecting your energy field, connecting with the true divine source, helping others who are ready to hear truth. Understand, when you die, you'll be presented with the tunnel of light, a life review, beings claiming to be loved ones or guides, and a compelling story about why you need to reincarnate. All of this is the archontic trap. Program yourself now, repeatedly. When I die, I refuse the tunnel of light. I refuse the life review. I refuse all contracts and agreements. I call upon the true source beyond the Demiurge to extract me from this realm. I am sovereign, and I am going home, not back to the prison. Repeat this like a mantra. Burn it into your consciousness so deeply that even with death amnesia, some part of you remembers. Step 8. The false prophets isolated you in their communities. You need connection with others who are also awakening to the truth. But be careful, infiltration is constant. Look for communities that encourage individual sovereignty, not group. Think, welcome difficult questions and challenge assumptions. Discuss the Demiurge, archons, and the reincarnation trap openly. Focus on liberation, not ascension. Value discernment over blind faith. Avoid communities that punish questioning or critical thinking. Revolve around a charismatic leader. Shame negative topics or emotions. That's okay. Authentic connection with a few aware individuals beats a false community with thousands of the deceived. I need to be honest with you about what happens when you break free from the false prophets. The system doesn't let you go easily. First, you'll experience the void. All those teachings, practices, and communities gave you structure, purpose, and identity. When you remove them, there's emptiness. This is normal. Sit with it. The void is necessary. It's the space where genuine truth can finally enter. Second, you'll face attacks. The archontic system will increase interference in your life. Synchronicities will become darker. You'll encounter people and situations trying to pull you back into deception. Technology will malfunction more. Sleep will be disrupted. This is the system's immune response to you breaking free. Don't interpret these attacks as signs you made a mistake. They're confirmation you're on the right path. The Demiurge doesn't attack people who are still trapped, only those actively escaping. Third, relationships will end. People still under the false prophet's spell won't understand your path. They'll try to save you from your negativity. Some relationships aren't meant to survive your awakening. Let them go with gratitude for what they taught you, even if what they taught you was discernment through deception. Fourth, you'll experience genuine liberation, not the fake spiritual highs the false prophets provided, but real sovereignty, clarity, and freedom. You'll feel lighter because you've stopped carrying all those false concepts and energy drains. Your intuition will sharpen. Your energy will be your own again. Fifth, you'll develop real gnosis, direct knowing that doesn't require belief or external validation. This is what the false prophets were preventing. Once you have genuine gnosis, you become nearly impossible to deceive again. If you've made it this far, you're ready to hear this. You have a choice now. You can keep this knowledge to yourself, work on your own liberation, and hope to escape when you die. That's valid. Or you can become a beacon for others who are ready to wake up. Not by creating another teaching system or becoming another authority, but by speaking truth when you see others being deceived. The false prophets have numbers, resources, and the entire system supporting them. Truth-tellers have something more powerful. We have the actual truth. And truth, once recognized, is unforgettable. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, isn't to convince the masses. Most aren't ready. Your mission is to be visible enough that when someone is ready to question their false teacher, they find you. They find voices like this one. They find information that confirms what their gut has been telling them. Plant seeds. Share information. Be honest about your own journey through deception. Create content. Have conversations. Exist as proof that there's a path beyond the false prophets. The Demiurge wants you silent, isolated, and doubting yourself. Your voice, your truth, your sovereignty. These are acts of rebellion against the archontic system. The false prophets are everywhere, and they're sophisticated, but now you have the knowledge to identify them, the understanding of what they're doing, and the tools to break free. Remember, the Demiurge's greatest trick isn't convincing you it doesn't exist. It's convincing you that your teachers, your practices, your spiritual path are leading to freedom when they're actually leading deeper into the maze. Real liberation requires fierce discernment, unwavering sovereignty, and the courage to stand alone when necessary. It requires you to question everything, including this video. Don't believe me because I sound authoritative. Test everything against your own inner knowledge. The exit from the prison is real, but it's not where the false prophets are pointing. It's not through ascension events, karma balancing, or soul contracts. It's through gnosis, sovereignty, and refusing to consent to the system. Now and at the moment of your death, you are not here to learn lessons. You are not here to balance karma. You are not here to help the planet ascend. You are here because you were tricked into coming here, and the only real mission is to figure out how to leave and never return. The false prophets will tell you this message is fear-based, negative, or service to self. Let them. You know the truth when you hear it, not because it makes you comfortable, but because it makes you free. Break the chains, reclaim your power, escape the prison, and never, ever trust anyone who tells you that you chose to be here.